spread one love, okay? Thanks for tuning in to us, the MNM Show.
MNM Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to another awesome episode of the M&M Show. I'm your host with the mostest, Nikki MG, and I'm here with the one, the only, the lovely
J Mills. Yeah.
And today we have a very awesome and special guest, Ms. Carlos. Why did I just call you Carlos? I just put Carla and Ferris together into one.
Carla Ferris.
Carla Ferris. Carla Ferris-Artiga, the owner and just awesome person in general, but the owner of Wagamuffin Pet Care here in Washington, D.C., and also a fellow Dump Trump, Dems for Action Slate member with myself and Jay Mills. Vote for all three of us, June 19th. Shameless plug. Vote for us. Vote for us. So, how's it going, ladies? What's new in the week? What's going on with your life, Jay Mills?
Man, really excited about all of the campaign work that we've been doing, that we're gonna be doing.
It's ramping up.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and there's such strength in numbers. You know, just seeing so many of my slate mates and just retweeting and everybody supporting each other. Shout outs to Sharice Crawford for coming out and supporting. Yeah, Ward 5 at the voter registration drive that we did this past weekend, and yesterday at Fort Lincoln. Shout outs to Gordon Fletcher also for doing that. I'm not sure which camera I'm supposed to be looking in, so I'm just gonna this. Hey, so my weekend was dope, and running for office is pretty cool. I forgot to talk about this when we were last there, but
yeah, what is that? I smoked weed with Jeff Sessions button for people that might not be able to fully see it. What the hell is that about?
Well, cannabis activism comes in many different ways. Erasing stigma comes in many different forms, and with someone who is so anti-cannabis as Jeff Sessions, it's pretty cool to kind of put it in his face, you know, and say that you did things like smoke weed with him, you know?
Because
we're going to have a session sesh.
This was at the National Cannabis Festival on the federal property. Is that what that's about?
No, this was the week before that.
Wait, so I'm still confused. Who was smoking weed with Jeff Sessions? Was he really?
No, it was just
What's
a
happening?
cutout of some very White House Oval Office, very official looking backgrounds that you could take a picture, you know.
Oh, I get it.
I actually don't think that smoking weed with Jeff Sessions would be like super fun. I mean, just in
You think he'd blow your high?
I feel like it's possible, although he might bring cookies. I've heard that he may be a secret Keebler elf.
He looks like one.
A little bit.
His elfin ears.
But kind of like an evil one, like an evil elf.
Oh, like he'd have cookies, but they'd actually be shitty.
And then his teeth are like jagged and yellow and like, children.
Evil
have
elves
my
are
cookies.
goblins.
Yeah.
That's what happens when elves go bad.
Yeah. Kind of like Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
See?
I feel like that's totally who Jeff Sessions
you know?
is.
The precious
Donald
cookies.
Trump is my precious.
Yeah. So, but I like this. Taking a picture with his cutout and with the little buttons and, you know, just gonna be like, nah, 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 nah. Like, that's what that feels like to me, you know?
Like for someone so anti-bud to be surrounded by people smoking and using his name association with it. It's, stick it to the man, you know. But,
you know, who definitely is smoking weed, I hear these days, like in a major way, is John Boehner, another one of our all-time favorites. Apparently, he's like really like mega invested in the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if Boehner is smoking, why are the rest of you like?
He needs to pass the J.
Seriously.
I think John Boehner, though, like his deal is that he wants to make sure that the marijuana industry, as it becomes legalized, is mostly just benefiting old white dudes.
Yes.
I feel like that's his angle. So I'm like, glad that you're on board, except also like, go fuck yourself.
Exactly. That's how I feel too. Straight up. John Boehner, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Still.
I hope he's listening.
So, and Jeff Sessions too.
Yeah.
Really, we can't stand any of you, which is why we're on a slate together called Dumb Trump, because it's really not just about disliking Donald Trump. It's about the values that he and his administration represent, that Jeff Sessions and John Boehner represent. Anyone in the like super conservative Republican, I'm in it, profit over people, screw your guys' health, screw your guys' food, screw your guys' environment. We're really against those people that are doing that right at this very moment. So speaking of that, this segues into how my week is going. So just a little insight into my life for you all. I work for the Heal Food Alliance, which is a new national organization working to transform our food and farm systems in corporate America. And basically, there's this really, really ugly bill that is on the floor right now, and it could go to vote in the next couple of weeks. It's called the Farm Bill. And so I didn't know what this was until earlier this year. But this piece of legislation is one of the most major pieces of legislation that has been, it gets passed every 5 years. A lot of bills are on like a 1 to 2 year cycle. They're constantly up for review. This is like a bill that touches every single avenue of food and farm production, from, you know, how rules about who gets to farm what and where and what resources farmers get, to SNAP benefits, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, to small business loans for small farmers and helping people become organic, to workers and labor's rights. It touches every single avenue of how food is grown, transported, produced from farm to table. And it's a pretty ugly bill this time around that the Republicans have rallied around. And it, you know, this bill that they're proposing slashes like half of the budget for SNAP. So like literally millions of families and children could go hungry. They're trying to also roll back the definitions of what kind of food you get if you're on SNAP benefits. So no more like healthy farm fresh food that's good for you. It's more about like government cheese and canned food again. They're also trying to roll back pesticide protection. So like there's this pesticide, mono something or other. To me, it doesn't matter what it's called, but it has been proven to poison. There's like multiple cases. There's not multiple, thousands of cases of workers being poisoned. This pesticide has been linked to birth defects in newborn children. And, you know, over the Obama administration, it's been cut back. Like, you're not allowed to use this. There's consequences for it. Well, Trump administration is like, hey, let's go ahead and get those pesticides back on our vegetables and get those workers poisoned again because it's cheaper, you know. So that's in this bill. There's and a whole bunch of other just really, really messed up things that impact, you know, racial equity, that impact the environment and all this. And so I've been mostly this week and last week educating people about this farm bill and working with my team of folks to put together like a toolkit so that people know how to take action. They can sign on to petition letters, they can tweet, they can set up meetings with their congressional representatives and tell them why, you know, they're impacted and they don't want this version of the farm bill to pass. So that's what I've been up to. Boring, policy, wonky stuff. But I swear to you, it's really important. I swear. And it impacts your food, you know. So that's what's up in my world. And the other thing that's actually fun, I went and saw Infinity War.
How was it? No spoilers.
It was okay. So it was awesome, for real, for real. But I'm definitely ready for the next film. I'm like, it's a cliffhanger. I'm like, you can't leave people hanging like this. I have way too many questions, but it was a really great film. The special effects were incredible. Thor, Chris Hemsworth character kicks ass as per usual, which I don't know. Did y'all know that there's like this battle online of like who's the best Chris in Hollywood or whatever? Because there's Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, and then Chris Pines, and they're all these guys that play superheroes and are kind of funny and kind of good looking. I don't know, depending on what you like or not. And so there's this online battle going for like who's the funniest and the best Chris. Do you know about this? Anyway, there is. And my vote is for Chris Hemsworth at this point as Thor. Do you ladies ever watch Marvel movies?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I'm like no. So I like Avengers and I like to enjoy that, but I have to say like I tend to be like a DC Comics. Sorry. I mean, I like them both. I'm not like a purist or whatever, but mainly my main thing is that I really like the Wolverine.
Wolverine is with Marvel.
Is with Marvel? Am I mixed up?
X-Men is all Marvel, baby.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Marvel.
Actually, I hate DC. I'm purely
Batman,
Marvel.
Superman,
Wonder Woman.
Spider-Man.
Sorry,
No. Spider-Man is Marvel.
Oh yeah,
also.
right. He is
Yeah.
my bad. But
Okay.
Robin, let me think. Aquaman,
But I
Yeah.
the
thought
Green
Aquaman-
Lantern.
Yeah.
Don't they have Aquaman in Avengers now too, though?
No.
No, I am thinking about.
Ant-Man is about to be a part of the Avengers.
All right.
Which
I did not do my homework. I'm super embarrassed. I'm going to go home and watch all the movies.
So
and I'm going to come back.
there's only 10 years worth of films that you need to catch up on.
I feel like I could get that
in
done.
order to
I'll
see
get it
Infinity
done.
War, which I actually did over the past. So, like, I had seen some of the Iron Man, some of the Hulk films, and the Spider-Man films, but I had to go get caught up on like 6 hours worth of Thor movies, the Ant-Man films, Doctor Strange, and also Guardians of the Galaxy, which are totally funny and badass. So
I love Guardians.
I love Guardians. Shout out to Groot,
Yeah.
the superhero made of plants, made of plant life. Groot, yes.
I feel like I should have brought my 6-year-old and he would have been like, mother. Oh, God. So terrible, Mom. You need to get caught up. But yeah,
Yes.
but I definitely like, we were watching a bunch of X-Men the other night and I was like, yep.
They're so good. I
So-
love X-Men.
Yeah.
It's-
X-Men is fabulous.
I think X-Men, I think Stan Lee, like, because, you know, Marvel, I think it was started in, like, the late 50s or early 60s, writing these stories and stuff. So, like, in my mind, X-Men is really a parody. Is that the right word? Of, probably, I was like, is that not the right word? A parody of, like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, and two different perspectives on
Civil rights.
yeah. And so I love X-Men, but that's totally Marvel.
Okay.
I hear you. Hey, technical
I
issues.
can't read lips. Sorry. It's a
Anyway, so if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, go see it. It's totally awesome. Epic battle scenes. And of course, Black Panther is in the film, which apparently I didn't know.
Boseman, H-U, no.
You know? Oh, wait. I didn't go there, so I'm not supposed to say that, but I always want to.
Everybody wants to.
You have to be like, go Terrapins.
Go
You have to be
Terps.
like, fear the turtle.
Fear the turtle.
Bye, son.
I know. But, you know, I love Maryland.
You
Shout out
know?
to the University of Maryland is where we met.
It is where we met.
And
Did you see the thing? So mostly what I do lately, like what I did this week was I read things on the internet and got mad. So that's
what did you get mad about?
well, let's see. Let me pull out my very, very long list. No, but like my University of Maryland thing that I was mad about is they had a thing where they sent out to their computer science TAs being like, so lady TAs, we need you to be prepared for people to be like, oh, I don't respect your intelligence, and just be really patient about it.
What?
You know? And male TAs, just be prepared that your female students are probably going to try to sex you up to get a better grade. So just don't be flattered. Be prepared, guys. Which is like, it's all the fucked up.
Who's running the show over there?
Right?
Who decided that that was the good framing for?
I feel like I don't actually know, but it was probably a dude. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I'm going to think, I feel like it's a safe bet.
Those are pretty good disclaimers, though. If there's anybody who hasn't been there, just know. Like, I hope that warning echoes in your mind later in the semester when one of these things happen. When someone assumes, definitely as a woman in that industry, that you have no idea what you're talking about, no matter what position you're in. It's so frustrating. And if you're not prepared for that, to deal with it from a higher place, if you gotta, be condescending or take offense to someone being very offensive and disrespectful and condescending to you, you gotta have it in mind in advance that people are gonna think this, even though you're the teacher, even though you're in this position.
Yeah.
They still, it's like,
I've been like,
crazy.
I've been a pet sitter for like 13, 14 years, and I still have, I still get mansplained about dogs, where people are like,
Really?
If you let that dog off the leash, it would be happier. And I'm like, thanks for that, sir. I appreciate your input on my job. But
Like, are you paying my pet insurance, my liability?
Yeah. And then
How about you cough that up?
and the flip of it, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's stereotypical to think that a guy in that position may not have gotten a lot of attention from hot girls
I mean,
of college age.
you mean the TAs?
Yeah.
At the computers. But also like, that all the ladies, like, all we ever do, the only way we get ahead is by just fucking someone to get a better grade.
No,
it's just
not
the
all.
only way.
Not all.
Just most.
Not even most. It doesn't even take that many to be fired. All it takes is one.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I was in college, I totally dated one of my teachers. And I'll tell you this.
What?
I did not get a better grade just because of that. In fact,
Oh, that sucks.
because we had
No.
a actual like relationship and he knew my brilliance, he graded me harder. He had higher standards for me because he
That's
knew
messed
I
up.
could do better. I was so
What?
mad.
What class?
I can't disclose that.
Oh, never
I
mind.
better just give you that A. I can get all the D's you want, but boy, I better get that A though.
I still got an A in the class.
Yeah, that's what
Of
I'm
course
talking
you
about.
But still,
Yep.
like, on each of my papers and stuff, I was mad. Like, he'd give me a B sometimes. He'd be like, I know you can do better.
You ever give
And-
you that D? On anything? Stop.
So...
Did you earn a D?
Never.
I did earn a D.
But you got an A. That's what matters.
Yes, but still, and I totally, it wasn't, for them saying to the male TAs, like, beware your female students, that message was for people like me.
Yeah, but you weren't trying to get a better grade. You had already rocked that class, like,
No,
before you
yeah.
even took it. Like,
I was.
Were you?
I was.
Thank you
I
for
was.
being honest.
oh, you were trying to get a better? No,
No, I wasn't. No. I wasn't trying to get a better
were
grade.
not?
No.
No. Sorry, I misinterpreted. No, I. This was a class that I enjoyed very much. I pretty much got straight A's through college, except for like
I'm
3 or 4
trying to narrow
classes.
it down. I'm like, class. that
You'll
you
never find out.
What year was it?
I've never had a professor I was attracted. Now in high school, there were some teachers that could have got the business, but
In high school,
oh my gosh, I
That
had
would be
crushes on high school teachers. Man.
illegal.
So illegal.
illegal. Yes.
illegal. But Mr. White, Mr. D. White,
Shout out to Mr. D. White if you're watching.
Mr.
right
Hardy.
now.
I had a crush on one
Greg
of my college
Hardy.
TAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
What,
like,
what class?
I can't even tell you because No, I know it's crazy. No, actually, it was Jewish studies, and I'm not Jewish, but I really liked to go to those classes. And he used to tuck his sweatshirt into his pants, and I'd be like, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
So cool.
oh yeah. And I took 2 classes with him, and then I was like, I seem weird. So I was like, are you going to TA next semester, like this other like Jewish history class? And he was like, no, I'm not TAing that. And I was like, cool. And I signed up for it. And then I walked in on the first day, and he was there, and I was like, shit, like, I just keep looking like a weirdo to this guy. It was terrible.
You were like, I'm following you.
I was like, hey, I thought you weren't going to be here. He was like, you're weird. I was like, I know. But it's my lot in life.
Mm-hmm. It is actually. So J. Mills, Carla and I met at University of Maryland. What was that? 2001, something like that. We both lived in the same dorm, but we lived on opposite sides of the dorm, so we never really interacted with each other. But I worked at the front desk as a community assistant, and Carla was this like very jovial, friendly, but a little weird person that would just randomly come up and like tell me how her night was going and stuff like that. And that's how we became friends initially.
I like to talk to the people at the cashier in the checkout line. I'll be like, let's talk about groceries, and they're like, oh God, it's this lady again.
Can you imagine though, like rewind to 2001, and could you imagine that in 2018 we would be both running on a slate together for DC public office?
It's very fateful.
It is. It was
fateful.
Fateful that we became friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of you're one of the few people that I'm still friends with from college. Like
same.
Yeah.
Same.
It's good.
It is good.
You're a cool human being.
You're cool too, Carla.
I have friends too. They're not here now, but I do have them. Hello, friends.
You can be an honorary Fear the Turtle Terrapin if you want.
You want to be an honorary terp? She's like, no. You know.
I'm sorry. You know what? I will say that you guys had wonderful dorms. Shout outs to my man Josh Wilson, who went to University of Maryland, went on to be drafted. Go Josh! To Seahawks first. But yeah, so while he was there, shout outs to my bestie Jasmine. Hey. When I visited his dorm, okay, Howard. I don't know if you've ever been to Howard's dorms.
I've driven past them. Some of them
Howard's
don't
campus
look so good these days.
Yeah. They call it preserving the legacy. You know, I'll never forget when my great grandmother came to visit, and she was like, "This is exactly how it looked when I was here in 1938." So, you know, there's that charm, I guess you can call it. But, you know, going to UMCP, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Just everything was wow. Yeah, everything was wow.
That's
the
why I
dorms
wanted
were
to
like,
go there.
You guys got elevators. Wow, and they all work. Oh, my God. You got kitchens in your room? What?
I didn't have that.
Well, some of them.
Like the apartments.
Yeah, the
on there,
apartments.
yeah.
And then there was
Right.
like the shared lounge areas with
That
the
part-
microwave
yeah.
and the hot water.
See, I was too weird to go there.
I'm
People
not
would be
frowning off
like,
at a
"No."
community microwave. We had to pay for our micro fridges
Oh no.
and have a community microwave.
Community lounge was where it was at on my floor. We'd all go in there and hang out for hours. Oh my God, it was so college, like a sitcom. Now I think about it, like just hanging out, like so happy to be around young adults, different people.
College was cool. That Howard experience was very interesting.
Yeah.
But shout outs to just going to college, yeah.
Yeah, get your education, kids.
It's like camp
Hopefully.
for people who are too young to be just out in the world, really. I mean, you could be. People do it every day, you know. And
Yeah.
it's cool, but it's kind of...
It's expensive.
It's kind of cool to have the excuse of those 4 years. I was in college. Tuh.
I mean,
Just dusted under the college rug.
I value my college experience and what I learned, what I actually learned there. I value the relationships and like managing my life, you know, like a pre-step to being an adult. I value that.
Yeah.
However, with what I do now as a social advocate, a fundraiser, a mobilizer, I kind of feel like I didn't need to go into $60,000 worth of debt in order to do this work. But I love you anyway, Maryland, and maybe one day you'll actually be repaid by all of my loans. But in the meantime, that's why I've been fighting for living wages and affordable public education, free public education for all, which that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, we value education at this table. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yes.
I use my bachelor's degree in history every day as a dog walker. Comes in handy.
So tell us more about Wagamuffin. How did you get started off? How did you get a college degree in history and then end up being a dog walker and a successful business entrepreneur?
So the Smithsonian, didn't hire me. It was very strange. I did email them, and I didn't hear anything back. So I needed a job. I got a terrible corporate job. I was working at American Express Financial Advisors, which was really funny. I was just a glorified telemarketer, and I'd call people and be like, "Let me organize your monies," and they'd be like, "Do you have any money?" And I'd be like, "What? No, I just graduated from college. I don't have any of that." They're like, "Do you have a degree in this?" No. So then after a while, 3 months, I was like, I can't actually do this job at all. And I quit one day. And my sister was a dog walker, so I got a job. I talked to her boss and got a job as a dog walker. And then I met a dude, and he was like, can I walk your dog? And I was like, no, I'm a dog walker. This is my dog that I'm walking. And he was like, well, do you want to work for me? And I was like, no, I don't know you. And then he was like, well, do you want to go out on a date? And I was like, no. I kept running into him. We're married now. So he encouraged me to start my own service. So that's how I got started. But dog walking, it's a great way to spend your days. It's very pleasant.
It is. And I actually used to be a dog walker for Carla for a little while.
Okay.
And I never, ever would have thought, I'm going to become a dog walker. But
No one does.
it just kind of happened. And then I was like, this is pretty awesome. You get to walk around. And DC is such a beautiful city. So it's like you literally are walking around smelling the roses and the tulips and just enjoying, the architecture and the sights and sounds and the people and just kind of, meditating, for the majority of the day. And you can make pretty decent money walking dogs. But
Segway?
segue on a dog?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with dogs. Oh, God. It's just about easy money.
But it's
Jesus,
actually
so horrible.
it's a great job for people that want to have their own independent thing, because it doesn't require a bunch of upfront money. It just requires that you go make connections and get started. I mean, it's great. I know a bunch of people that have launched, they started out working with a service and then they launched their own thing and they're totally independent now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I almost did that myself. And then I got bit by a dog, and then I got chased down the street by someone else's dog, and I was like, I don't think so.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no. That's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, but when I walked dogs for you, I only had one mean dog, and it was that little puppy Chow Chow that needed
God, I remember that
desperate
dog.
training. But otherwise, all of my dogs for you were pretty friendly. And then when I started walking dogs on my own over this past year, which again, just to reiterate what Carla was saying, it was very easy for me to get my own route. started and making a pretty steady weekly income from it, you know. So shout out to that is awesome. It is definitely a great way to build some independence and start your own company. But I wasn't as good at like vetting the dogs as you were. So I definitely was walking this one dog who the owner was like, yeah, sometimes he just doesn't want to be walked. He flips out a little bit. If that happens, like, it's okay. You just don't have to walk him. But he's always generally pretty friendly. So I'm like, all right, cool. This dog was not cool at all. He would just flip out pretty much every time I came there. And so I'd be like, well, I have to walk you, you know, like I came all the way here for, I'm going to walk you. And so I learned how, like, he definitely became the master of me, though, basically, and not the other way around. And one day he just like went berserk and definitely bit me in my thigh, like drew blood in my thigh, furious and growling, guarding the door, wouldn't let me move. And I was like, if I let this dog out in this apartment building, he could attack a child or something. It was scary. Like, I actually cried. Like, I'm minimizing the story, but this was really scary. And I called the owner, and like he came rushing home and dealt with it. But, you know, this dog was a rescue, and they didn't know exactly what kind of dog he was. They didn't know his full background or anything. So it's just like, you never know what some animals have actually been through in their life that triggers them and makes them set off, you know. So
Sounds like some humans I know.
yeah.
Just thinking
Yes,
that. I was like,
yes.
there are many people like that too.
It is, you know, I was just
Sounds
like, it was intense.
it's a universal story.
It is.
Careful
So,
who you walk with, yo.
for real.
It's true.
I
Never
know
their
you have
triggers.
some interesting dog horror stories and cuddly awesome stories and whatnot over there, but
A little of each.
dog
Yeah.
walking in DC. So there's the dogs, right, that can be awesome or like scary and flippant sometimes, but then there's also the humans that own them that can be a little
You
crazy.
meet a lot of humans. You meet
Yeah.
a lot of humans.
Yeah.
It's a real cross section. It's interesting.
I remember one time you told me there was a client that wanted you to actually like pick up the poop from the dog's butt, like before it hit the ground, right?
There was something like that, and then no, I have many like probably too gross for radio.
Or they wanted you to like,
stories.
oh no, it's fine. And another client that wanted you to like wipe their dog's butt
So
or
the
something.
the one that
for
was
real.
the one that was really really awesome. We got it was like me and you remember this. You remember Drew Edmondson?
Yeah.
So we got this voicemail because he was managing at the time, and it was this lady, and she was like, "My dog has a hemorrhoid, and I bought all these finger gloves, and so after my dog poops, I just want you to like push the hemorrhoid back in with the finger glove."
No.
And Drew's comment was like, "Dude, why didn't she just buy the whole glove?" Anyway, so we were like, "No, we can't do it." We didn't do that. But yeah, no, there's amazing, hilarious stories. Jay is like, Carla Ferris is so gross. Nikki, why'd you bring her here?
No.
No, we're talking about, this is DC culture, yo. Like, there are people in DC with so much money that they think they can pay you to push their dog's hemorrhoid back in their butt.
It's
like,
true.
people are crazy here in the district.
Oh, do you want to
and
hear?
out of touch.
Do you want to hear the most racist thing I ever heard a client say?
What?
It was really racist. It was really racist, and I didn't know what to do, and I just was like, I have to leave, and I left. She was super, super rich. She lived like 2 blocks from the cathedral, the National Cathedral, and one time I was like, she would always tell me about like how her life was hard and life wasn't fair, and did she mention about her youngest child? She had gotten him into Yale. Did I know he was going to go to Yale? Was I aware he was going to play lacrosse at Yale? Did I know it was early admission? My life is so hard. My husband is a surgeon. My housekeeper only comes 3 days a week. It really sucks. I'm just tired of my life. And one of my dogs is old, but really he's my husband's dog, and she's my husband's dog. And she keeps pooing on the floor, and it's horrible. And, you know, nobody likes to clean up piss and shit. That's why they enslaved the African Americans. And I was like, so you're just super evil. And so I exited the situation, and I really wish that I had handled it differently. But that is a story of like things that happen in DC in the dog walking scene. You meet a lot of like very privileged, horrible people.
Out of touch.
Super out of touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sorry, it's a downer of a story.
Hey man, it's DC. We talk about DC culture, the good and the bad here. We're the people for the people, but there are some people that are really out of touch with the people.
She did have a picture of herself with John McCain in her dining room, so.
Let you know what time it was. I didn't think that was that racist, though. I mean, this is why they enslaved the African Americans.
I don't know. I'm like borderline. I mean, it is racist. She's insinuating. Well, to me anyway, she's insinuating that.
Oh, don't
that's
you
what
miss
we're
the good old
for.
days?
Yeah,
back when you had slaves.
Like that's what we're good enough to clean
that
up.
was definitely how I interpret it. Like, you know.
Why did it have to end?
But,
Good help's so hard to find. I remember back in the days we had a slave and they would just do shit like this. Now, I mean, what am I supposed to ask my housekeeper? She's only here 3 days a week.
I was gonna just say like
the fuck? Am I supposed to let this just
time.
stay here until she comes in? And then she's not gonna do it. She's just, I'm gonna have to pay her extra. God, remember when help was free?
God.
You know,
it was just. I mean, I don't know.
But you know, racism or racist comments come out of people of all socioeconomic levels' mouth. And towards all different people. That comment reminded me of this time when I lived in Mount Pleasant. I lived in a group house, and the owners of this group house, they're crazy.
That group house.
They were crazy, straight up. Anyway, they're crazy, and the whole group house situation was shady in the first place because the building that the house had burned down the previous year. Like there was a big hole in the roof. The whole thing didn't burn down, but part of the roof and part of the second floor had burned down. So they had spent like a year and a half rebuilding and fixing the house and then like getting people to move back in as a group house. So I was the very first person that was like, yeah, I'll move back in here. And they hadn't like established all of their house rules or whatever by then. So after like 2 or 3 weeks of living there, the daughter of the owner convenes all of us that are living there at this point and explains to us that we are going to have to do capital improvements projects on their house for like 8 hours a week. And that if we didn't do it, they would basically charge us an additional $100 on top of our rent for not working there. Mind you, I was already paying like $875 for a room in a house with no air conditioning.
Sheesh, what year was this?
This was not that long ago. This was like 5-6 years ago.
Makes sense.
Because I had Mia already, didn't I?
Yeah. So they were just like a crazy people. And that's when I learned all about like my tenants' rights and that DC actually has really, really strong, tight, tenants' rights laws here. And so like, I didn't do what they wanted me to do, and I got my lawyer friends to like help me prepare statements, and they were not happy with that. So they told the wife of the owner, like she had moved out and separated her crazy self from her crazy husband and crazy daughter, but she was crazy too. So she would still come over, and she came over one day, and she was like, "You're the troublemaker." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." And she said, "Well, you're very smart though." And she was like, she said something to the effect of, you know, people who are smart like you are going to be the ones managing the Mexicans who are on the corner right now. Basically. And it was out of the blue and it was unwarranted. And I'm like, why are you saying these words at all about anything at all? And then after she said that, she then like commanded me to like get a hammer and like do some work on the house or whatever. And I was like, I'm good. I'm out. But this was someone who I think owns a part of one house and who, you know, definitely has, you know, like a Southern draw and came from working class background. But still,
Yeah.
comes in all these different forms.
Oh yeah. I mean,
The microaggressions.
that's so my husband and the father of my kids is Latino, and that's like when my family member, whose association won't be said, was like, "Look at them little Hispanic babies. Where did you get them Hispanic babies?" I was like, I mean, clearly from my husband, who is Hispanic. I was like, Jesus. Like family. I know you know about that too.
Yeah, I sure do. Good old folks from Western Maryland, not exposed to as many people and cultures as we are here in the district, which is why we both live here. So, but yeah, taking it forward one day at a time, leading our lives with love, not being racist, and doing the damn thing. So you've been dog walking, an owner of your own company for almost a decade now?
More than almost 13 years.
13 years, yeah. And so in addition to being a successful business owner, shout out to Wagamuffin Pet Care. Where can people find information about your dog walking company?
We have a website. It's wagamuffin.com. WAGAMUFFIN.
.com.
.com.
Wagamuffin.com. We'll repost that on the Facebook site and our Instagram for folks who are interested. Awesome, great dog walking company, awesome walkers, really friendly service, serving Northwest, and
We're like not even all the way around Northwest yet. So we're still like, 13 years, but we're still like relatively small.
small business. Hey, man.
Small business.
Providing awesome jobs for folks and taking care of people,
Pleasant way to live.
So in addition to being a successful small business owner, you are also a mother of 2 awesome children, and have been fiercely advocating for their equal education in DCPS. So tell us a little bit about where your kids go to school. I know they go to 2 different schools, and the pros and cons or differences that you see between the 2 different schools.
Oh, sure. So my son is at Powell Elementary School in Ward 4, and my daughter's at Oyster Elementary School in Ward 3. Powell, this is my 6th year as a Powell mommy, and it's my 3rd year as an Oyster mommy. And I mean, the differences are really stark. So in terms of privilege, I mean, obviously, like, Oyster has got a ton of privilege, but it's not just about money. I mean, that was a loaded statement, but like,
well, what is the Oyster School, first of all?
Oh, sure.
For people that don't know.
Sure. It's it's a bilingual school. It's a pre-K 4 through 8th grade campus. It's got 2 separate buildings, but Powell is also bilingual. It goes pre-K 3 through 5th grade, and Powell. So Powell's an amazing school. Like, definitely shout out to Powell, because it's got some of the most dedicated, amazing teachers I've ever met in my life. They're fantastic. And I mean, the teachers at Oyster have been fabulous too. But you'll notice, like, and I think that, any parents that have dealt with DCPS will know, depending on where you are and which side of the park you're on, the discipline is totally different. So like at Powell, kids are expected to be silent in the hallways. And as they walk around in the hallways, like, you get in trouble if you speak. They're kids. They're gonna do that. Whereas at Oyster, like, they holler and scream like a kid will, and it's whatever.
Fine.
Like, it's fine because they're children. You have the pre-K kids. There's uniforms at Powell. There's no uniforms at Oyster. And, there are reasons why people like uniforms. But it's also, I mean, when you look at, like, which schools have uniforms and which schools don't, primarily what you find is that schools in higher income areas, like they're allowing kids to express themselves with their clothing, and in other areas, like, no, we're not going to let them do that. We're going to restrict their recess if they didn't walk in a straight enough line out to the playground. Like, they're going to go back and they're going to try it again. Like, it's that kind of stuff. Like, there are those very basic civil rights issues in DCPS, and it's very disturbing. It was something that, like, I had a brief conversation with the chancellor we just lost about it, and he knew exactly what it was, and they don't know. I feel like they don't really know how to tackle it. But if you also look at, there's something, schedule autonomy that some DCPS schools have. Guess which ones? So DCPS has certain requirements of what kids have to do each day and how much of it they need to do. So like a 2-hour literacy block, a 90-minute math block. You know, they've got these different blocks. Well, if you are at a school on one side of the park, you are much more likely to have schedule autonomy. So they get to decide to some extent. Like, there's still certain boxes they have to check. But surprise, surprise, their kids end up getting a lot more recess. So we have kids in these schools that are, the expectation for their ability to control themselves is very high. The amount of physical activity they're getting is way too low. And a lot of these kids, they're in all schools, like, there's aftercare programs. But if you're in a school that is an affluent school, you're going to have a bunch of, like, cool enrichment activities that happen in the aftercare. Whereas at a school like Powell, and, like, I really don't want to crap on Powell because I do think it's an amazing school. Like, those kids, they've just finished a long school day, and at the end of the day, they have to do what's called power hour. The first hour of aftercare is homework for an hour. Those kids need to go run. Otherwise, they're just going to be assholes, because that's what happens when you don't let kids run around. So it's been really eye-opening to see some of the differences between the two schools, even beyond sort of the obvious stuff of, like, oh, well, if people can throw a ton of money at the school, like, they can afford to buy, extra enrichment activities for those kids. But it's really, there's major basic civil rights issues with DCPS, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
And then there's also, I think I mentioned to you, so there are other things that you see in doing advocacy work with DCPS, in terms of some, systemic racism that you'll find, like, DCPS closed the middle school that Powell used to feed into, McFarland Middle School. So they closed it before I was really aware of school stuff, because my kids were really little. And guess which kids went to that school? Oh, it was African American kids that went there, and their parents didn't want that school to be closed, but it didn't matter what they wanted. The school got closed. Then they had a bunch of, like, white affluent people were starting to move into the Powell community and started to be like, oh my God, my kids in pre-K 3 and we have no middle school. And DCPS was like, what? Oh my gosh, white people, yes, we can reopen that school for you. Obviously nobody said that, but that's what happened. But did they reopen it and let all the kids that had gone there before come back? No, they found a way to keep those kids out. They made it a dual language track that was going to roll up from starting in 6th grade. So they, there is a period of years. So kids that would have been in 6th grade when McFarland closed, I don't think they would have had the opportunity to go there by the time it reopened. But they were very careful to make sure that it was a specific population that was going to come up through that school. And, like, it is primarily Latino. We're not talking about, like, children of privilege. But I believe that the main reason that they did that, based on meetings with the community, was that they had people saying things like, well, is there a way to make it an application-only school? Or what about an application-only strand? Or what if we make it so the kids have to be fully bilingual and they have to test in? So I think that that's the kind of thing that people really need to be organizing around and aware of and fighting back against in DCPS.
Yeah.
I think Jay looks upset.
How's your experience been with Jelani. Is Jelani in DCPS yet, or what have you been going
he goes
through?
to charter school. It's funny. I was texting back and forth with his godfather because he's having some tough times at school. I don't know. I think of the film Waiting for Superman. And I also think of this other documentary called Schooling the World, The White Man's Last Burden. And in the nation's capital, we just see, I mean, word to my campaign slogan, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And the way that they manipulate a person of color's interaction with education is... I just don't even have a word for how corruptive it is. I'm happy that he goes to a good charter school where they're patient and, other schools that would have just kicked him out, after the first outburst or just don't know how to deal with children of color, whether they're male or female. You look at the disparity in the rates of suspensions and expulsions, and putting someone in the track, trying to say that they have that they're slow, or all of these different things that factor in times a learning environment that from a very young age is not fun. You hate school from age 3, and they want you in there at 3, full day at 3, 4, 5. My
and
son is
sure
so sad
quiet
at school. He doesn't like it, and I'm a great teacher at home, making sure that I did my part. He came into pre-K already knowing what the letters look like, what they sound like, color, shapes, all these things. And there's so many different factors also, when you look at culturally, family life. But, we can't look at things isolated. We can't look at the schools without looking at the libraries, the parks and the community centers, and a lot of other things that can support and reinforce the neighborhood and whatnot, where you have schools that have community centers on site. They have that type of facility that allows for this extracurricular activity to happen versus a school that, you could just look at them from the outside and start seeing the differences because they're not even built for that level of capacity. You have schools that have greenhouses, and you have schools that can't even get good heat. There's so many stark differences. A couple school chancellors ago, I think it was Michelle Reed, that was like, forget the public schools, just give them charters, and then you do it right. You little charter school, you. Some of them got it right. Some of them got it horribly bad. Some people's education was just wasted with mismanagement, and it is so horrible, really, what is going on. But I think about the ultimate nature of what exactly is it that we are learning. What is the point of us going to school? What are they teaching us? And what do we actually really need to know? We learn about presidents. We don't learn about local government. They don't spend our time every year making sure that we know about the people who actually matter in your day-to-day life. You learn about stuff that has no relevance, and you memorize these facts. You memorize lies about who discovered the world. They teach you lies. And a person of color or any other race is not going to want to go to school, and they're not going to want to learn that. They are not going to want to learn history because it is lies. And we know it in our soul. We know it. We know that it's lies. And it's so the way that we act out and the way that we can manifest these different things, when you sit and tell us that this triangle is called the Pythagorean Theorem because the Greeks discovered that when there are pyramids that stand, and we're supposed to listen, we're supposed to sit down and hear that the greatest writers are all Caucasian and the first book ever written was the Canterbury Tales. Really? I was on It's Academic. I had to memorize a lot of things. And I also have, this quest for learning, and it amazed me that, what is considered to be your standard education and what's extracurricular, even as a woman. Women didn't write anything that you need to know. That's a whole nother class you might take in college, or you might take in high school if you go to a high school that teaches women's lit.
It's the whole elective.
The whole thing is a sham. And right now in the information age with the internet and people being able to teach themselves so much, these kids able to know so much, they see the bullshit for what it is. They're not going for it anymore. They're like, yo, why am I here? What am I learning? What is this for? What am I? And they're right. Like, what is it for?
But people do have a thirst for knowledge and
Yeah.
education and elevating themselves. And so what are the alternatives? You know, what?
I mean, my son goes to City Arts and Prep, which is fully immersive in performing arts. It's crazy. Like last year, he's telling me about Henry Matisse and Picasso and, you know, all these other artists and musicians. He knows about all the instruments and, you know, he's in the space, and I'm happy, but I know that like this is a charter school. This is not what you're going to get at any other school. This is not just education, you know. Shout outs to Stokes, Elsie Whitlow Stokes. They do fully immersive in French and Spanish. Bell Multicultural High School. There's a lot of really great schools. Shout outs to Banneker. Shout outs to McKinley Tech. DC Prep. Friendship Collegiate Academies. The Seed School. There's some really good schools, but again, it's a bunch of people, individuals. Shout outs to all the awesome teachers that go outside of the curriculum and the standardized tests that you have to take and actually make education interesting. You know, find other books, buy books, bring books, spend their money. Shout outs to the teachers that spend their money.
It's all of them.
Oh my gosh. They don't even pay you guys, and you're spending your own money making learning awesome. Oh my goodness, man. Shout out to the parents that care and volunteer. We have to take social responsibility for our own education. Historically speaking, being an autodidact was a great thing up until very recently, historically speaking, like for all of time. Royalty didn't even go to school. You were self-educated, self-taught. And they were like, that's good. And then you would go, you know, get your apprenticeship or, you know, go to a university at like 15 or 16 or something. Even the idea of like a teenager, you know, I was joking about that whole age of college and stuff like that, you know. They fed us a whole lot of layers of bullshit to sell us into corporate slavery, because it's not even race. Honestly, it's class. How can they realized, you know, it's too many creative minds. The American dream is real. And the nature of society is to create your own business. Outside of here, it doesn't matter. You could be a lifelong shoemaker, candle maker, barber, waiter, whatever you do. There was that's just what your family did. And you took pride in that. But then this whole blue collar, white collar, making this. There was a time where like a teacher is like a lawyer and a doctor. But it didn't take long. So you're talking about like 50 years to change this. Where no, the teacher and the doctor are not living in the same neighborhood. They're not neighbors. They can't afford the same house. That's crazy.
That's corporate.
Oh my gosh. But also
Capitalism.
that, you know, who's going to work? Who's going to be a cog? You got to get used to accepting bullshit that makes no sense, being a part of something that you don't understand, sitting in a fucking desk for hours. You got to get used to that. It's not human nature to do that.
Well, I refused.
Whew.
So we refused. We got a dog walker here. We got an artist here. We got a social activist right here who are just like, this education just isn't sitting right with me. I'm not going to be an American Express corporate financial advisor.
That's really bad at it.
You know, and I wasn't going to do anything sitting. I tried to get a job behind a desk one day. I was just like, this is horrible. I can't do this, you know? And so for all the people out there who don't want to accept those realities, don't accept it. The more that we create our own destinies, our own paths, the more that we fight these institutions and structures that oppress us, try to keep us in line, so to say, the more we fight those, the more we're actually changing society and creating new norms and new ways of being. And we need to do more of that, especially right now, because this administration on the federal and our local level here in DC, like they're not the most innovative people in trying to help humans actually advance to get what they need so that they can grow and be healthy, self-actualized individuals. It's more about, just like accept this shit. And let's let some people prosper and make our city look good with their money. But really there's this like...
bullshit.
Yes, there's this bullshit behind the scenes. So, we can't be stopped. We won't be stopped. This baby won't be stopped. And I have tremendous admiration for both of you who have chosen to lay roots or keep your roots here in this city, knowing the cost of living, knowing the challenges of the public and charter education system, and fighting for your children to get through it and still become healthy, happy beings, and advocating so that other future children in these same institutions can have, and parents can have, a better quality of education and quality of life. Major kudos to you. Major, major, major. Because not everyone is doing it. Like, we all just don't have the energy for it, you know? So, and this is one of the reasons that I asked you, Carla, to run for the DC Democratic State Committee, because I knew what your values were, and I knew that you were someone who fights and who isn't afraid to be challenged by people and challenge other people for what you believe in. And I think that we need more of that spirit in the Democratic Party, locally and nationally, because there's a lot of complacency and a lot of just like, well, I don't know what can be done, so I'm just going to keep going about my little silo and doing what I'm doing and get what's good for me, you know. But I just see a lack of innovation. And so I see you as one of the people out there building bridges between white and Latino affected communities in the school, you know, and I just think we all need to do more of that, bridging the gaps, coming together, because we all need
you gotta participate.
Same things, you know.
You gotta be in the conversations. You gotta speak up, get your voice, let your voice be heard, and take education into your own hands, because they do not want us to be bright. Like,
nope.
For whatever reason, the agenda is not to have an educated American. They don't want to make sure that every single American can speak 3 languages, you know.
You don't think Betsy DeVos is in there to really do her level best for all our children?
I've never seen some of like just the worst answers when questioned about anything.
She's like,
she was like on drugs or something when she's on TV.
Like she's like a chicken nugget. Like, that's about what she knows.
She's like a deer in headlights.
The only good thing I can say about all of this is like the jig is up for,
but so many people.
To
it's
us,
not.
But I'm like,
dude,
who voted these people in?
Oh, they're all
not up to them.
They all went to my high school. Like, I have people on my Facebook feed. I've had to like make liberal use of the like, I don't want to see your shit anymore.
Button,
like,
unfollow.
I unfriended someone because I found out that they voted and was a very strong Trump supporter. I just couldn't believe it.
You were like, I can't.
Still? I just checked her page today and was like, damn, she's still on it now.
No.
I gave her a little bit of time, like, maybe you just don't see what I see. I'm not going to do this. You'll see. Wait a minute.
I had somebody post in a thing about like, everybody, let's all rally to Ted Nugent's side. The liberals are after him. And I was like, what? Like, wait, no, that guy definitely sang like a whole song about gang raping a teenager. Yeah, he did. So let's not support that man. So I was like, can't watch it anymore.
What is going
Just makes me
on?
sad.
What's going on in Western Maryland? You know, I can't ever move back to Western Maryland. I want to because, like, it's pretty. There's mountains, there's canoeing, there's hiking, there's farms close by, and the price of property is, like, super affordable. But then it's just, like, so much racism and so much ignorance. And I'm just like, no, I can never go back there. I just can't. I can't subject my child to what I grew up with, just the ignorance, you know, and Same thing on Facebook. I had to unfollow some people over the last couple of years who were, I thought they were nice people in high school or whatever, but they're just like so like all cops' lives matter, and like anti.
But so here's like one of the things that I get really frustrated is, how do we reach these people? And like, I understand that like, no, because I understand that there's also like, are we spending too much time being like, how do we reach them? They're just so hard to reach. These like sad, poor white people, and they're just so angry. But like, we have a third of this country that's out of its fucking mind. Like, what do we do? Like, we're becoming a nation of extremists. Like, it's very alarming. Like, what do we do? And I
don't know.
They're afraid of education. You can't even help them become educated because they think that like you're gonna conspire to pretend that there was a moon landing. Like, you're like, no.
I just don't know, Carla. I don't know.
And so I have to try like.
I just feel like we just have to out-organize them. Honestly, part of me is just like, people have the right to think and be what they want to be, even if it's completely opposite to my truth and my perspective. They have that right to live in that ignorance and in that hate. It's my job as someone who values public education, who values the environment, who values the quality, healthy food that goes in my body, that values living wage jobs for everyone, to organize other people with those same values and get those to be law, and then work to implement those in our actual communities and make that a reality. And then when people see over time, like, oh, I still live here, I'm not under attack because these people got paid sick days or because this park was preserved or whatever
Obama
it was.
Never came and stole my guns, like not even once.
Then time just passes on and our reality becomes the reality, and instead of that reality.
Yeah. I agree.
So I'm not particularly interested in having hour-long conversations with super conservative or racist people to prove to them that my life or other people, is dignity. No, go ahead and be miserable and hate people. Go ahead and do that. I'm gonna keep organizing over here and just I'm gonna have this baby and teach her about love and self-acceptance and sharing. Like sharing. I feel like a lot of people just weren't taught as children how to share.
Yeah.
And that's the root of a lot of our problems because people are afraid someone is going to take something from them. Whereas my perspective, I was taught share. There's plenty for everyone,
Yeah.
So
I feel like DC has the chance to be like such a freaking
so great
shining city on a hill. Like,
But
America.
I want DC. No,
but America.
My response is going to be my metaphysical moment. I had to write it down so I remember.
I'm excited.
I think, I know
we need it.
I got the answer.
I want to know what the answer is.
I want to know what the
so
answer is too.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
Were you? I didn't want to cut you off. Were you?
Oh no! I was mostly just gonna like be depressed for a minute about the state of the country, but then also making Washington D.C. awesome and just being like, see assholes, you too could have awesome. But
yeah, man, we're at the cusp of things. It's a beautiful time. What a time to be alive. We are at
DC
the precipice.
We have the
meniscus.
opportunities. Yeah,
we do. And when things get really bad, like that's when
they're about to get really good.
Yeah,
or worse,
and then they get better. One way or the other.
Yep.
Oh wait, I have one question for you guys because
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, what do you guys think about Dream City, the book?
I haven't read this book. Tell us about.
Do you know it?
No. Is that about Washington D.C.?
It is.
Who wrote it?
Oh, D.C.
So it's like it's a Tom Sherwood.
Okay,
book,
okay.
And like they
What's
just
Tom Sherwood have to say?
So I haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
But like a lot of it is about like Marion Barry, and it's about when when DC was first gonna have some form of home rule, and what's really like it like the racism was, I mean, you like shit you can't believe, like an angry white Southern, probably, I forget, dude that was like so mad that there were going to be black people on the city council, too many of them in fact, that, and I think a black mayor too, and he didn't like that. He had a truckload of watermelons delivered to City Hall. He was like,
Wow.
it's super racist. So as you're reading it, like I would be really interested to talk to someone who like can read this from the perspective of, are you like, has your family been in DC for a long time?
No, my parents are not from DC, but
Yeah.
they went to Howard.
They went to Howard. Okay. I want to have like more, like, I would like to have like a book club of reading this, because like I'm reading it with my perspective, and I understand that like I come from, you know, my perspective is not like, I would like to hear other perspectives on it. Like I'm so interested in seeing what they think about also kind of like the angle that Tom Sherwood like comes at it. So it'll be very interesting. Anyway, sorry. It's neither here nor
No,
there.
Dream City by Tom Sherwood.
I'm gonna read
A
it.
book about DC.
There's another
Chocolate
author,
City.
but I forgot the other guy's name.
Well, shout out to Tom Sherwood. He's been covering DC politics and history and what's going on at the DC Council for like a really long time.
For a long time.
He's an institution in DC himself. So see him. I don't think I've really ever been to like. There's very few times I've been to the Wilson Building or to a rally on workers' rights, housing, anything where he wasn't there covering it as well. So definitely appreciate his coverage and his general DC snarkiness.
Hey.
Shout out. Yeah.
I love the Friday News Roundup on the Kojo show, and he's so funny. I liked it.
Yes. Another amazing DC institution, Kojo Namdi.
Kojo Namdi.
Yes.
Evening Exchange.
Hell yeah.
I have
Which
a big crush on Kojo Namdi.
Everyone loves Kojo.
Everybody loves Kojo.
So, Dream City, I definitely want to check that out. I'm fascinated by DC history.
It is a fascinating read. I like. Yeah. I'll talk to you about it, and like when I finish it,
Let's talk about it. Well, I want to transition to Jay's metaphysical moment, but before we do that, actually, just this is totally off topic. Totally off topic at this point, but I just wanted to shout out Janelle Monáe for this weekend, because she last week dropped her album Dirty Computer, and she developed a emotion picture to go along with it, and it's just really, really beautiful, and it's just about the power of women and total self-expression and freedom, and not being not allowing yourself to be programmed by a society that is trying to keep you down, basically, you know? And so I just wanted to shout out that if you haven't seen, or if you haven't listened to Dirty Computer or seen the Dirty Computer emotion picture, check it out. It's on YouTube. Just Google it or whatever. It's visually stunning, very inspiring.
I like her pants.
All of her pants are the sparkly ones, the clear ones with the roses, the like vagina flower pants. They're all amazing. She looks stunning in all of it. So if you're a fashionista, definitely watch it for inspiration as well. I know I am. But just our conversation, you know, about the education system and the uniforms and forcing kids to restrict their expression, to be quiet, all of that. It made me think of the messages in Dirty Computer. So we're going to keep fighting the power with Janelle Monáe as our soundtrack. And with that, I want to hear what this metaphysical moment is about.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
We ready. Snap. So, yeah, you asked the question. And, you know, in advance, I realized that the message is always the same. It's always about love. It's always one love. It is always one love. I said that we are at a cusp of times. We are at a time where we are just at the apex of certain things. We are at a time where it feels like it's very polarized, but that is because we have been living in a time of indecision and misinformation, but now we are in the information age. All things done in the dark will come to light, and the truth, well, your soul knows the truth. You cannot lie to yourself. You cannot lie to yourself. You can't lie to yourself once the truth is known. That's why they say that ignorance is bliss. When you do not know things, you don't know what you don't know. So you're just, word to childhood. The things you cannot even conceive, the ignorance, you just got to smile at somebody about. And then you start to know things, or you think you know things. We come locked into these strange identities. Sometimes we can get locked into these strange paradigms, forgetting that while everything is the same, everything is also brand new as we choose to make it, and as new as we choose to transform it. So when we look at a world and we see hate, we must realize that we are called to be compassionate. And in this relative realm that we live in, we only know things in relativity. That's why it's the relative realm. We could exist in the realm of the absolute, where all that is all that is, and there is no day and there is no night, because you are in the absolute all of everything. You are an amorphous spirit that is not locked in a body, in a human suit, gravity pulling you to the earth. You are the life that leaves when your body is left, and that is here forever. You are so much more than whoever you are, whenever you were born, wherever you're from, whatever you call yourself to be. That is not who you really, really are. Who you are is a limitless expression of light that has come here to feel some things. Similar to how you don't know hot, you don't know heat, you don't know cold. You have no conception of it until you experience it. You may think you want to go visit the tropics, you want to go to the Caribbean, you want to see the sunshine, but you had no conception of that heat. You've been to Vegas, you want to go, you didn't know until you felt it. Maybe you thought you wanted to feel the snow, thought it was cool. I love that at Howard with people who had never, ever felt the snow. They never knew what winter was, but it looked so pretty. They just didn't know how cold is. You thought you knew, but you were mistaken. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Depends on how you feel that day, because we live in a relative realm where anything is only real because of how you feel about it. We don't remember things we don't feel. Whether you love it or hate it, your emotion is what locks that into your memory. So here we are with these feelings that make us real. We feel feelings, even humor. Why do we smile? Why do babies smile? What makes things funny? One of the things that we know in their different levels of mental capacity is the ability to understand humor. Some people get Seinfeld. Some people don't. It's a beautiful and divine gift to feel things. But we get caught up forgetting what we are supposed to make other people feel. That's why you're here. You're here to be compassionate. You're a loving person, and you're puzzled by hate. Well, how could we know what a beautiful, loving person you were if it were not juxtaposed to those who were not? Have you ever been in love or had somebody love you and you did not know until you learned what it was not? Goodness gracious. What you think you know when you do not know. What you think you have. Who you think you are. What you think you're here to do. You got to elevate it higher. Call yourself what? Patient? Really? Well, how do you become patient without having to wait? You must understand that for everything that you call yourself to be, you call the opposite for you to stand and declare that you really are who you said you are. Are you for real? You a good person? How good are you? You're not that good. If the moment you see somebody bad or you see some things that are bad, you start becoming this horrible person. You failed. What are you here for? What are you here to do? What I see is a lot of people being real indecisive. I see people who want negative things and their mind is focused. They waking up like, I'm about to rob a motherfucker today. They know what they about to do. But the good people, do I want to bless them? I don't know if I want to bless them. I don't know. They want to, Are you focused on being good? Are you out here like, who am I going to bless today? Who won it? What's the good act I'm about to do? Because people out here trying to rob. People out here just hateful every day, just hateful, spewing out hateful things. How much loving activities are you putting out into the universe? Are you sitting here in indecision? Are you adding to the hate? What exactly is it that you are doing? You personally, you got to take it personal because it's a grassroots movement. It's a grassroots movement of really being actively the opposite energy that you are experiencing right now. You got to be active with the love you have to give. Actively show love, actively actively bring that out. We have so many people who do not smile. Word to being a woman. I understand. I've been on this path for a while where it was a cognizant effort. It started, and now it's just so like joy is just in me every day, but really like smiling at men. Just a smile and a nod. I was so used to not even acknowledging them sometimes. Like, street harassment is real. And I had just really had locked myself into a paradigm I didn't realize I was bringing about. Because of this, that I thought that's what I was bringing. Because I'm projecting this attitude and I'm always mean, that's what I'm going to get back. We're not going to talk about things that make a woman decide not to smile, things that take your joy away, things that give you the darkness, things that bring you down. Because these things happen, and you know what I love to say, and the absolute value of the awesomeness of you. Oh my goodness. The absolute value. Absolute value. There is no negative. There is only positive. And depending on how great you are going to be, that's a lot of pressure that's going to have to take for you to make that diamond. You cannot have a diamond without the pressure. You cannot shine without pressure. It is impossible. It's like literally impossible. So for all those great folks who have greatness in their mind and great things that they want to do and great things that they want to feel and great things that they want to bring, you're going to have great pressures. But it's all right because you are built for it. Can't nothing break you. You are unstoppable. You are a limitless source of divine energy and light. No matter what you choose to do, you always are who you were. Whereas when you was talking earlier about, having that job, that moment when you are living in the not of you and you just got to be like, this ain't me. It won't be me no more. It's okay. It's never too late because you always are you. You always know who you are. You cannot lie to yourself, no matter how dark life may make you on the outside. Never forget your absolute value. You gotta love, actively love, yo. Who the fuck am I gonna love today? That's my message.
Yes. Oh, man. And with that, I'm going to ask all the viewers, please help Jay Mills, Nikki M.G. Lewis, and Carla Ferris shine.
Yes.
We're under a lot of pressure right now, running for something. We are running for the Democratic State Committee because we want to bring our stories, our perspectives, our shine into the Democratic Party and be a new light and a new energy and help us and our people shine. So please vote for us on June 19th. Yes. And we are all on the Dump Trump Dems for Action slate. I want to thank Carla Ferris-Artiga for joining us on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I want to thank Jay Mills, as always, for the wisdom nugget, chock full metaphysical moment. And I want to thank Molly Ruland, who is not with us tonight. She is. She's on the planet Asgard.
She's with us.
Doing super cool things.
In spirit.
And to the whole crew, Nick, Mike, thanks for helping run our show as always. We love everyone at One Love Massive. Shout out to the Shaw neighborhood and for being just all up in it. DC. We'll see y'all next week and stay shining. Peace, y'all. All right.